Right, this is our third real-world project, and the Conform here is going to provide a bit more of a challenge. I've deliberately made sure that some things go wrong with this Conform, so that we have an exercise in troubleshooting and making sure that we get a difficult scene into the right position. In a feature film, in a large-scale project, somewhere, somehow, some things will go wrong, and we just have to know how to deal with these things. We need to know how to troubleshoot these things, and that's the point of me creating this XML and making sure there are errors within. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to make our first three bins here. We've got our rushes, our offline, and our timelines bin. And then we're going to navigate to the Scary Crows folder, which you should have downloaded from Dropbox. So here I've got three folders. I've got my trimmed footage, I've got a temp folder, which I'm going to ignore, and I've got my offline file. Now, seeing as I'm already here, I'm going to pull my offline file into my offline folder, and to do that, we right-click, add as offline reference clip, and of course, we then have the little checkerboard down here showing us that it's offline. It can never actually be placed on a timeline now under any circumstances. Resolve will actively prevent that from happening. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is go into my rushes folder. I'm going to get my trimmed footage, right-click, and choose Add Folder and Subfolders into Media Pool. Now, this particular folder isn't very well organized, deliberately, because it's meant to give us a challenge to work with. So using the Create Bins option here is not the way we want to go. What we want to do is add the folder and subfolders into Media Pool, and then we will leave it like that. So we'll do that, and Resolve will take a few minutes, or a few seconds even, and then it will populate this bin with all of the rushes for this sequence. Now that looks pretty good. And we've now got timelines over here. So we have our rushes all in place, we have our offline reference, and we have an empty timelines folder. So we're going to go into the edit panel, making sure our timelines bin here is open. We're going to right click and choose timelines, import AAF/EDL/XML. And then to do that, we're going to go into our Scary Crows folder, and then we've got the Scary Crows Udemy timeline.fcp XML, and we're going to import that. So now, import timeline, grade export, yep. Timeline name, we're going to call this Scary Crows Work Timeline for now. We're going to uncheck automatically import source clips into Media Pool because we've already imported our material. We're going to automatically set project settings, we're going to use sizing information, and we'll set our timeline resolution to 1920 by 1080. This project was shot in a mix of resolutions between 2K and 3K, basically, for a final 1080 delivery, so we're going to leave it at 1080, and then we're going to hit OK. Now, folders. Because we haven't automatically imported our source clips, we now get this folders dialog. We're going to uncheck it and check only rushes, and then we're going to hit OK. Now, we have some errors here, as we should expect. We have a number of clips that failed to link because the timecode extents do not match any clip in the media pool. This means Resolve is looking for a clip with the right file name. It may have found a clip with the correct file name, but rather than it have the right timecode extents, for example, like 3 minutes and 4 minutes, it's got something else, and that's because that clip is probably missing from that folder. We're going to have to hunt around and look for that missing clip in a second. But the first thing we're going to do is hit close, and then we're going to go through, and we're going to check and see what we've got. So now that we have our timeline, we're going to right click and choose timelines, link offline reference clip, and our Scary Crows Recycling Center offline. And then in our source viewer here, we're going to click and choose the offline symbol. And remember, as long as these two frames are the same, our conform is correct. So now we're going to go through and we're going to check the conform we've got, and we expect to find some problems here. So correct, correct, okay, that is not correct. This is a wrong link, so something that should be here has not been here, and what I've done is I've made it link to my logo folder, my logo file, and that shows us now that this is the incorrect clip, so we're going to have to fix that one. We'll go through. There's a clip here that's just straight up failed to link. In all likelihood, that is actually missing from the folder we've imported from. Remember, we imported the whole contents of that folder. There's no way that we could have imported the whole folder and its contents and yet missed a file that was there. So what that tells us in all likelihood, the clip that we're looking for in this particular place is not actually in the original folder. And we're going to come back and deal with that in a second. Well, in a few minutes. We're just going to go through and check for errors. In fact, what I might actually do is I'm going to put a red marker down on the timeline wherever there's an error, and to do that there's this little symbol here. Click this drop down and choose a color, and then you just need to hit it there, or hit the M key, same as in Premiere Pro, to place a marker down on the timeline. And this is also incorrect, so we're going to hit M, place a red marker. In fact, we're going to place a marker on the timeline. Now most of this is correct, we just have some issues. We can see in the native clips we've had quite a significant lighting change or camera setting change here. We go from green to blue, so we've got a fair amount of work to do to match all this. We're going to go through and place red markers wherever there's a problem. There's another missing clip. We've got a good few bits of footage to work on here. I'm really happy to have been able to use this project to teach with. It's a really good one. And the client's very cooperative, which is always nice. And we're going to put some more red markers down there. Quite a few missing clips this time, but that's okay. We're here to learn how to deal with this. And there's another missing clip. So we have a fair few problems in this Conform that we're going to have to sort out before we go any further. So we'll take care of the easy ones first, and that's these missing clips. So if we go back to Media, we've got our Trimmed Scary Crows folder. And then we've also got our trash is temp. Now I ignored this at first because it's not uncommon to have temp files floating around, but if I take a look in, lo and behold, we have some missing clips. So what we're then going to do, we're going to make a new bin, a bin within our rushes bin, and we're going to call this missing clips. And we're just doing this so that we can keep a track of the new material we've added in case that should cause any issues. We'll go back one level. We'll right-click Trash is Temp and we'll add folder and subfolders into the media pool. And that then brings all of these clips in. Now there's a chance that Resolve will have automatically repopulated the missing clips. And it tends to do that. If you add new material in which hits a Conform that's gone wrong, it will automatically try and solve it for you. And in a lot of cases now, I don't actually see any red clips. Now, we're going to have to do a final proof check of all of this later on, but for now I'm pretty confident that that's fixed it. So now, if we go to the little red checks, we can now see they're actually correct. So what we need to do now is go back and we need to fix all of the incorrect conforms. We need to go back and we need to fix all of the clips where my logo has come in instead of the actual footage. So this is the first one. In fact, if I'd had my wits about me, I'd have used a different marker. I'd have used yellow for the logo and red for the missing clips. That way I'd have an easier way of spotting where the error is, but live and learn. So now, these clips were in the first folder that we imported, but I deliberately made these edits link to my logo so that the wrong thing would appear in this place. We're now going to have to manually find the clip and put it in, and then make sure that it all syncs up with our offline reference file. Now this is time consuming and it's frustrating and it's boring, but it also happens, and that we know how to deal with these issues going forwards is really important, so you're just going to have to do this. So I've got my reference and my offline up here. I now need to go through the bins and I need to find the rush which matches this. Which I think is this one. If I just drag this out and place it here, I can see I've now got a match. So I've now found the correct rush. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click over here. So with this clip active, I'm going to right click this here, and I'm going to choose Conform Lock with Media Pool Clip, and that will then forcibly insert this clip into the edit that was incorrect. Now, I've also zoomed my logo in a bit, and you can see this is too big, so what we need to do is hit the inspector up here if you haven't already done, and we're just going to reset the zoom in here by typing in 1. If you hit the reset arrow, it will reset the zoom value to the value that's brought over in the XML, which is not what we want here. We want it to be 1, not 135. So we're now going to go through and check, make sure everything is okay. I'm just going to play it through. And make sure everything is good. We're going to keep going until we hit the next version of my logo, and then we're going to do the same manual fix. Here we go. This one might be a bit harder to figure out because there's a lot of angles which are very similar here, but if we take a look, I would say it's this one. We can see the hand in the bottom left and the hand in the bottom left there. We can then just check that. Lo and behold, that is correct. So then we're just going to get that, right click, Conform Lock with Media Pool Clip, and there we go. And then we're going to make sure that our zoom is 1, and we've now fixed that. Got a few more red checks here. That's correct. That's fine. Yeah, we've got another logo here. So now we're just going to have to go through and find the match. And that's a mid of him standing against the garbage pile. Okay, there are a few here, but I think this is the match because the... let's just see what happens. Yeah, he runs forwards, and if we scroll over here, we see he runs forwards as well. So this is the correct one. What we'll then do is we'll just right-click Conform Lock, and then we'll just play that through. Perfect. Yep, fine. Got some particularly difficult lighting here, but we'll take care of that. We've got a fully finished conform here. That took a little bit longer than last time. This was a pretty basic conform. What we're going to do is we're going to save now. We'll call this Scary Crows Real World Project, or Practice Grade, better. Scary Crows Practice Grade. And then we'll save that. We want to make sure that we've saved now that we've done all of this work. So conforming a feature film is, well, conforming an indie feature film is much the same way, just on a larger scale. You can typically expect to put like between a full day and a half day aside to make and proof check the conform, and that depends on how many errors there are in the conform that you're doing. If you get like a full 2-hour-long feature and it's just riddled with conform errors, then that's going to be a full working day. Or you can get a really basic, really simple, I say basic, you can get a really clean conform, and it might take you 2 or 3 hours because you have to watch the whole thing through with your offline reference to make sure that it's fine. But once you've got that sorted, you can then begin working. So this is a good start. In the next few lectures, we're going to have a quick chat about RED and what's the difference between RAW and footage, because this is the first time in this course, anyway, that we've worked with a RAW format. So we're going to have a quick talk about red, a quick talk about raw. Then we're going to go into look development and how this feature film is different from the other two projects as well, because we're going to work in a different way here. We're going to have a different attitude towards the grade we're making, and it's very important that we get that down. So click on through to the next lecture once you're ready.